Welcome back to Steelers Therapy. I'm your host, Ron John. Today, we're going to be doing our Week 3 picks for the NFL season, and we're going to be doing an analysis of the Steelers versus the Los Angeles Chargers at Acrisure Stadium. Let's do it. Let's go. Now, before we get into things today, do me a favor. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. Let's start doing this weekly, and let's get started with Thursday night's game. So Thursday night, tonight, we have the New England Patriots at the New York Football Jets at -6 for the Jets, +6.5 for the Patriots. Look, I do not believe in the New York Football Jets. Aaron Rodgers, I believe, is too old. I don't think he's got the energy. I don't like his attitude. I think he's still halfway on an ayahuasca trip somewhere in South America. I do think the Jets are going to win this game, but I think it's too many points to give the New England Patriots. They have good coaching. They have a good defense. Jacoby Brissett can manage the game. So I like the Patriots versus the spread. I like the Jets to win straight up for a 20-16 score. So that's what we have for Thursday night football. Let's get into Sunday's games. Our first game, the New York Giants at the Cleveland Browns. Browns -6.5, Giants +6.5. So the New York Giants are not a good football team at all. Again, I'm not sure why they paid Daniel Jones. I suppose you have to have somebody to quarterback your team that you're familiar with, but paying him what they've paid him is certainly, I think, a mistake by their brass, and they're stuck with this mistake through this year. I don't see them putting up much of a fight versus the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland's defense plays well in Cleveland. The Cleveland offense has weapons. If Deshaun Watson is playing well, it's going to be a problem. Even if he's not playing well, I see the Browns winning this game by more than 6.5 points. So give me the Browns -6.5. Give me the Browns straight up. And I think the score is going to be 26-13. I think the Giants are going to struggle to move the football. Let's get into the next game. We've got the Chicago Bears at the Indianapolis Colts. So the Colts are -1.5, the Bears +1.5. I don't think either of these teams are very good. They're both starting sort of raw talent-like quarterbacks who are not refined, who are not entrenched in the position. Obviously, Anthony Richardson, a rookie last year, Caleb Williams, a rookie this year. I think there's going to be tough goings to score in this game, but ultimately, I give the home team the nod. Chicago's defense is good. It's going to make it difficult on the Colts to score, but I think the Colts will do just enough to win this game. I think, again, the Chicago Bears are going to struggle to score with Caleb Williams, and they have a terrible offensive line on Chicago. So, yes, give me the Colts -1.5. Final score, 17-13 Colts. Colts straight up. Next game, we have the Houston Texans at the Minnesota Vikings. This is an interesting one. Minnesota has come out of the gates hot. They got a really good quality win versus the San Francisco 49ers. We all think Houston is likely in the top 5. If you don't have them in your top 5 power rankings, they're certainly in your top 10 power rankings. So again, tough to pick this game. It's in Minnesota. I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to get a little bit humbled this week by a good team. I don't think it's going to be a terribly high-scoring affair. I like the Texans -4.5. I just think C.J. Stroud and his weaponry that he has, it's going to be too much. It's going to overwhelm Minnesota. I think Minnesota will move the football against the Texans. The Texans' defense isn't their strong point, but D'Amico Ryan still has a good defense. And I think it's going to humble Sam Darnold a little bit in what they have going on. So give me the Texans -4.5. Final score 23-17 Texans. Texans straight up. Next game, we have the Philadelphia Eagles -2.5 at the New Orleans Saints +2.5. I like the Saints +2.5 here. I like the Saints to win this straight up, 31-28. The Saints are playing good football. A lot of people didn't believe in the Saints earlier this year. I did. I had them higher in my power rankings, continue to have them higher. I think they're a better football team, at least right now, than the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they play better defense. It's at home in New Orleans, which is always a difficult place to win. Philadelphia, they're a good football team. They're good offensively, but Nick Sirianni is not a good coach. You saw those just enormous mistakes by him last week. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles will move the football, no problem, but I think that the Saints will move the football, no problem, against the Eagles. And ultimately, it being in New Orleans, I just like the Saints here straight up. So give me the points, 2.5 for the Saints. Final score, 31-28 Saints. Saints straight up. Next game, we've got the LA Chargers at my Pittsburgh Steelers at 1 o'clock. Steelers -2.5, Chargers +2.5. This is going to be a tough game. This could go either way. Maybe I'm a little bit of a homer picking the Steelers here. I had the Steelers losing the first game of the season at the Falcons. I had them winning at the Broncos. This game, I did have them winning. So I'm going to stick to that script. I think the Steelers are going to eke this one out. They're going to have to score more than they have scored all season. Obviously, the Chargers are going to put up a fight versus the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I think the Chargers are going to get 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals. I've said that before. I think the Steelers will be down sometime in the fourth quarter. They'll be able to tie it up with a touchdown or a field goal, so they'll be down 13-20 or 17-20. It'll go into overtime, and it'll come down to a Chris Boswell field goal. So give me the Steelers -2.5. Final score 23-20 in overtime. Steelers straight up. Not terribly confident in that. The Chargers are a good team, but that's where we're at right now. Next game, Denver +6.5 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -6.5. So I like the Bucs. I'm a huge fan of this Baker Mayfield resurgence in his career. I used to not like Baker. Now I do, that he's humbled and he's playing good football. But I think it's too many points to give the Buccaneers. Denver is, I don't think Sean Payton is a great coach, but I do think he's a good enough coach that he is going to get them up for a game so they don't start 0-3. We saw Bo Nix start to play a little bit better versus the Steelers in the second half last week. I think that the Broncos have a good defense that will limit Baker in the Bucs offense, but I still don't think the Broncos are going to have enough offensive power to ultimately beat the Bucs. So I like the Buccaneers. Give me the 6.5 points, but I like the Broncos. So give me the +6.5, but I do like the Buccaneers to win straight up. So final score 20-17 Bucs. Next game, Green Bay Packers +2.5 at the Tennessee Titans -2.5. So I really like the Packers +2.5 here. Both of these teams are going to struggle to score with Malik Willis and Will Levis at quarterback. So I've got to go with Matt LaFleur as the better offensive coach here. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I got kind of a funky score here. Packers 18-14. So give me the 2.5 points in the Packers to win this straight up, 18-14. The Tennessee Titans, the first game I saw Will Levis play, or the second game, played really well. But since then, he's not been playing nearly as well. He's been giving up really wildly concerning turnovers. The offense just doesn't move with fluidity under him. And while they might be able to put up a couple field goals and maybe touchdown and 2-point conversion or 2 touchdowns, I think that'll be about it. And I think with Malik Willis, the Packers will do enough to come away with the W. So next game, we've got the Carolina Panthers at the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders -6.5, Carolina +6.5. Give me the Panthers and the points. Give me the, what do they call Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket or the Red Rider BB gun? I think he's going to kind of come in and do the same thing Joe Flacco did for the Cleveland Browns last year. He's going to rejuvenate their offense. He's not a permanent solution. Obviously, he's older, but he's smart. Obviously, he can still play and move. He's still in the National Football League. Typically, teams are going to start their new talents in somebody like Bryce Young over a veteran QB, even though that veteran QB may be better. So I think that the Panthers are going to get better. I don't think they're going to win this game, but I think their offense is going to move better. So give me the Panthers plus 6.5, but give me the Raiders to win straight up 27-24. I don't think we're going to see much of Bryce Young anymore in the NFL. And the real reason is it's not that he was drafted into a bad situation or anything like that. It's just that everybody got it wrong with Bryce Young. Certainly he was able to be explosive in college, but they have him measured at 5'10 and 1/8, the same that they measured Kyler Murray. Everybody knows Kyler Murray's 5'7 to 5'8. He's significantly shorter than Hollywood Brown, who's 5'9. So they likely did the same thing with Bryce Young. He might be 5'7, 5'8, 5'9 at the most. He's probably not even 200 pounds. He's just not big enough to play. So I think it's going to be much different with the Carolina Panthers and a real size quarterback. So yeah, I like the Panthers here. Give me the points. Next game, we've got Miami plus 5.5 at Seattle minus 5.5. I don't think Tua is playing this week. I'd have to double check. I think that's why the line looks the way that it does. And so I'm going with that assumption that Tua is not playing. I like the Seahawks minus 5.5. I think they're going to clobber the Miami Dolphins in Seattle. Look, the Seahawks, they're not that good of a team, but they just have this knack of winning. They've had this knack of kind of easy schedules. So I like them to be able to beat Miami and handedly with Miami's backup quarterback. I do think Miami's going to score a bit. They've got Tyreek. They've got Jalen Waddle. You throw up enough 50-50 balls, those guys are going to catch them and make plays. So they're going to put some points on the board, but Miami's defense isn't very good. And I see Seattle sort of thumping them. So Seattle 34-20 against Miami. Next game, the Detroit Lions at the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals plus 3.5. Lions minus 3.5. I like the Lions at minus 3.5. Not by much. Arizona is scrappy. They play tough. But again, I'm not a huge believer in Kyler Murray. I know he's having a great MVP-like start to his season, but I'll say the same thing about Bryce Young. He's just not tall enough. He's not big enough. So he can run around. He's got a strong arm. He can do some things. But when you have a quarterback that's that small, they're going to be limited overall. And the law of averages is going to get to them. So I like the Lions to be able to put up enough points on the Cardinals, but I think it's going to be a close game. So give me the Lions. Give me minus 3.5. Give me the Lions straight up with a 27-23 win over the Cardinals. Next game, Baltimore at Dallas. Dallas plus 1.5. Ravens minus 1.5. I like the Ravens here. I know we're looking at another home loss for the Dallas Cowboys, but the Dallas Cowboys have a talented team. They have won 12 games the last few seasons. Last week, they just got hammered. Not sure what happened or why or how, but they got hammered. The Ravens are 0-2. I don't think John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson are going to let the Ravens go to 0-3. I think they're going to go into Dallas and put up quite a bit of points. I think Dallas will try to keep up, but the Ravens ultimately have a good defense, a good secondary, and I think the Ravens get their first win of the year at 1-2. The Cowboys will be 1-2. Neither of these teams will be buried at 1-2, but likely I think that's the way they're going to start. So give me the Ravens minus 1.5. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game, 31-24, with the Ravens coming away with the victory in Dallas. Next game, the San Francisco 49ers at the Los Angeles Rams. Niners minus 7.5. Rams plus 7.5. Look, I like the 49ers to get back in shape here after, shrugging off this that loss to the Minnesota Vikings, and I like them to clobber the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are hurt. They're aging. They're a team in decline, and I just think that they're going to beat the brakes off of the Los Angeles Rams. So Yeah, give me the 49ers -7.5 with a final score of 30-13. Next game, Sunday Night Football. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons +4.5, Chiefs -4.5. I like the Falcons in this spot. I don't like them to win this game, but I like this to be another sort of Chiefs low-scoring. Patrick Mahomes pulls it out at the end by a field goal type of a game. So I think 4.5 is just a little bit too much to give to Atlanta. So I'm going to go with the Falcons +4.5 with a final score of 20-17 with the Chiefs winning. So Chiefs straight up, Falcons with the points. And yeah, it should be a fun, good game. I think Atlanta's getting their footing as a team with a good roster that will be a good team. But Kansas City just has a knack for winning these type of games. I just don't think Atlanta's going to be good enough to beat the Chiefs, even in Atlanta. So that's Sunday Night Football. Let's move on to Monday. 2 games on Monday. The first game, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Buffalo Bills. Bills -5.5. Jags +5.5. I like the Bills to absolutely blow out the Jacksonville Jaguars. I like it with a score 41-17 Bills. I think the Bills are starting to hit their stride. It's Josh Allen's team. I don't think there's a lot of internal strife in the locker room like there was with Stephon Diggs. And I just don't believe in Trevor Lawrence. I don't believe in this Jacksonville Jaguars team. I don't think they do anything good offensively, defensively. They've been a disappointment the last few years. And I think that they're going to hit a low point here at 0-3 with the Bills beating their socks off of them. So that's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But that first game, I think, is going to be a blowout. And the next game for Monday night, the Washington Commanders at the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals -7.5. Commanders +7.5. Look, I like the Bengals -7.5 here. I think they're going to get their first win of the season, certainly, and I think they're going to do it pretty handedly. So I've got a final score of the Bengals 27-16. So pretty comfortable win for the Bengals. I know 7.5 is a lot of points to give, but it's in Cincinnati. Cincinnati has momentum. Even though they lost that game versus the Chiefs, they outplayed the Chiefs. They played them well. So I think they're going to win their first game. Again, I don't think the Cincinnati Bengals are that good of a team. They have stars with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. And their defense isn't half bad, but they're playing a pretty bad team in the Washington Commanders. They're going to need time with Daniels to figure things out and what the team's identity is. And they're just not going to have the firepower or the defense to keep up with the Bengals. So I think Bengals get their first win, and they do it by more than 7.5. So that's what we have for the lineup for week 3 of the NFL, and particularly just want to go back and focus on the Pittsburgh Steelers and Los Angeles Chargers. To me, this is the game of the week. You've got 2 teams, 2-0, both teams trying to really solidify their identity and say, hey, we're for real teams. I think more people believe in the Los Angeles Chargers than the Pittsburgh Steelers, and rightfully so. The Los Angeles Chargers have Justin Herbert, who is a perfect physical specimen for a quarterback. You know, he's 6'5", 6'6". He's got a great arm. He's proven to be somebody that can put on the Superman cape and lead this team to victory and come from behind. The Chargers, I think a lot of people weren't sure what their running game would look like, and taking J.K. Dobbins, who has been habitually hurt, and Gus Edwards, who's a little bit of an aged running back that has been ran through a little bit with the Ravens. But boy, this Los Angeles Chargers team has been really good to start the season, even though some of their competition hasn't been all that great, or quality wins, if you will. But I think having J.K. Dobbins, having Gus Edwards, having Justin Herbert, having somebody like Bosa on defense, I mean, this is a team that can scrap. They can play. And I think they want to show that they're for real. And if they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, that's a way they can do that. Now, on the other side of things, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is a team trying to figure out its identity as well. It has nowhere near the identity on offense that the Los Angeles Chargers have. So the Pittsburgh Steelers just have a crummy offense. And although it is different than it has been the past few years under Justin Fields, it has not shown so on the scoreboard. So mechanically, as far as how they manufacture yards, the plays they call, we've got Arthur Smith, we've got a mobile quarterback, but results are still the same. So you've got a crummy offense versus an elite defense. The Steelers defense is an elite defense, and they've got the best player in the world with TJ Watt. The secondary is better than a lot of people thought. That Atlanta win looks a little bit more like a quality win now, having seen Atlanta beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. But again, coming out of this, there's going to be a few different scenarios that's going to inform how we think of both of these teams. I think the Steelers will eke it out with an overtime win. If they do lose, they're not going to get blown out, that's for sure, because they do have such a good defense. It is at home. And while I do like the Chargers running game, I like their offense. I'm not in love with their offense. They don't have a super high-powered offense. At least they haven't shown that yet. Justin Herbert hasn't even thrown for 200 yards yet this season. He hasn't really needed to. So this is an interesting game. One of these two teams is going to come out of this as a for-real team. Doesn't mean the other one won't have a successful season, but it's a fork in the road certainly for both teams. So I think it's just a big game. Another game I kind of want to call attention to here is the Baltimore at Dallas game for a number of reasons. If Dallas loses their second home game, it doesn't mean they're buried, but we're all going to look at Dallas a lot differently. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on guys like Dak Prescott, having just gotten paid so much money. If the Dallas Cowboys lose because their defense is flat-footed, then, we all thought that their defense was so good with Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, all these folks. And if the Baltimore Ravens come in there and dictate things with their offense, their running game, it really calls the question, who are the Dallas Cowboys? And on the other side of things, if Baltimore loses this game and starts off 0-3, you have to start to wonder. It's okay to lose to the Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium. To lose to Gardner Minshew in the Raiders at home, and then to go to Dallas after they just got walloped and lose a game there and start off 0-3, this is a team that I think that could get to their psyche. They don't start off 0-3, so we'll see what things look like there. The only other game that I think could be, or two games that I think could be interesting, the Chiefs at the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. I'm not too concerned about that, but Kirk Cousins in the Atlanta Falcons, there's just a lot of weapons on the Falcons. Bijan Robinson can run really well. They've got great safeties on the Atlanta Falcons, going to make it difficult for Patrick Mahomes to throw it over the middle. It's in Atlanta. I think this game could be fun. So we'll see about that game. The other game that's going to be interesting is Philly at New Orleans. We're going to see if New Orleans is real. If the Saints go 3-0 and now they've beaten the Philadelphia Eagles, we simply have to take them seriously as a juggernaut-like team. There's going to be a lot of things coming out of week 3 that will sort of dictate the narrative of the best teams in the NFL. I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited. If you're a Steelers fan, here we go. Let's go Steelers. And once again, I'm Ron John. This is Steelers Therapy. Until next time.